Hello everyone. Welcome to the course on assessment of student performance. This is a 8 weeks course. There are 2 credits and this course will be taught by Professor Chandrasekhar, Professor N.J. Rao and me. So every week we will have 5 units. Therefore 8 weeks will comprise of around 40 units. The first 5 weeks of this course will be facilitated by me. So yes, let us begin with the week 1 discussion. In week 1, we have 5 units. The week 1 is titled as Understand the Role and Nature of Assessments. And there are 5 units. The first unit is on basic concepts in assessment. The second unit is on various purposes of assessment. In the unit 3 and unit 4, we will try to understand the different approaches of assessment, and since this is a long discussion, that therefore we have split it into 2, part 1 and part 2. And the 5th unit, whatever we have discussed from unit 1 to unit 4 about different concepts, different terms, different terminologies, purposes, approaches, with this understanding, in the unit 5 we will try to derive a few principles of good assessment. So now that we understand the flow of the first unit, let us move to the unit 1 discussion. After unit 1, you all will be able to describe the role of assessment in the teaching learning cycle, explain key terms and terminologies related to educational assessment, explains the purpose and functions of formative and summative assessment in supporting students' learning. So the entire objective of this particular unit will be to establish some kind of a common vocabulary to speak in the domain of educational assessment. So every domain, every curricular area has certain vocabulary, certain jargon that we use that help us communicate with each other. So the objective of this unit will be to understand and establish that kind of a common vocabulary that will help us converse throughout this course. Let me begin with the definition of assessment. So assessment is a systematic process, and through this process the objective is to gather information, interpret that information, and then try to use this information to improve students' learning. I am emphasizing on the word use, because any assessment is valuable, any assessment is a good assessment only when the assessment results are used. Also, how do we use these assessment results? We use it to improve our teaching practices, also to design curriculums, and also to develop some programs. So across different processes of the educational setup, assessment results are used. So with this understanding, we now understand that how valuable is to understand the domain of educational assessment, because if you are able to design good quality assessment, then we will be able to probably do a good job of teaching our students, design curriculums, and also develop some programs. So there are 2 types of assessment. So let me explain these 2 types with a simple flow chart. We define a set of course outcomes for a course. And what does this course outcome tells us? This course outcomes help us understand what students will be able to do or know at the end of the course. They are also called as assessment standards that indicates the expected levels of learning that students should achieve for an instructional unit or a course or a program. Now, when we have these set of course outcomes, as a instructor, we try to design pedagogy to help students attain those course outcomes. And in a outcome-based education setup, it is important that the pedagogy that we design should be aligned closely with the course outcomes. It should help students attain the course outcomes. Also, as far as outcome-based education principles are concerned, the assessments that we design while the pedagogy is happening or after the instructional unit, both these kinds of assessment should be aligned to the desired course outcomes. So, you see, there are two types of assessment in that manner. One kind of assessment which is happening during the teaching learning process, and another kind of assessment which is happening at the end. So, based on this particular discussion, we can conclude that assessments can be of two types, formative and summative assessment. Let us try to have further discussion to understand these two assessments even better. So, formative assessment, first of all, it is important to understand that it happens during the teaching learning cycle, and the entire purpose is to gather feedback. So, feedback is the key word for formative assessment, and this feedback is used by the teachers to understand that how well they have devised their pedagogy. Also, this feedback can be used by the students to understand where are the learning gaps, where are the misconceptions, or where are some areas of improvement. So, the entire objective is to gather some feedback. These assessments are criterion referenced. What do we mean by criteria here? In a course setup, the meaning of criteria is course outcomes. So, whatever informal kind of assessment we are using during the teaching learning process, which are more formative in nature, all these assessments should be referenced or should be aligned to the course outcomes. Therefore, these are also called as criterion referenced. Formative assessments can be during the teaching learning process, and we also called it as assessment for learning, because whatever we are doing, whatever kind of assessment we are conducting, this is to help students learn. So, we also call it as assessment for learning. Another form of formative assessment are diagnostic assessment. These assessments happen in the beginning of an instructional unit, unlike the earlier discussion that we had, which was happening during the teaching learning process. This kind of assessment happens in the beginning of the instructional unit, and the objective is to understand that say in a classroom, what are the different levels of understanding among students in a classroom, and how can I pitch my pedagogy? How can I devise pedagogy for different levels of students? So, let me take one example to explain it further. Say we have a course outcome which is on applying programming principles to write, analyze and refine code. So, for this particular course outcome, a teacher might devise a very good quality rubric that will help students understand that what are some of the expectation. So, when I am writing a code, probably and if there is a rubric, probably I should know that how correct is this code, or if I am able to debug the code or not, or if I am able to write a code which is very well documented. So, these are certain criteria to assess the quality of a good quality code. And suppose I give this rubric or use this rubric for peer feedback. So, all the students are reviewing each other's codes based on the rubric and based on the criteria given. of the correctness of the code, how well the code is documented, and then the peers are giving feedback to each other. At the same time, instructor also provides some targeted feedback to the students, and also instructor gathers some information about students' understanding of this area in terms of if there is a gap in the way they understand looping structures, or in the way they understand the usage of different kinds of variables or the conditional logic, right? So based on these feedback, so you see all these feedbacks are not only helping the teacher but also helping the student to understand the gap and also make appropriate changes in the way the student is approaching or learning that concept. So in this case, we are not giving a grade or marks. Instead, we are giving an opportunity to the students to learn better, right? So revise the code, understand where are the common misconceptions. So the objective is to help students learn better through assessments. Now for the same course outcome, let me take one example for diagnostic assessment. Now in the diagnostic assessment, say if I am going to start to teach this particular course outcomes, and then what I can do is probably I can ask my students to write a program, and a very simple program. It can be calculate the average of even numbers. Now based on students' performance, probably I can divide them into two groups and pitch my pedagogy appropriately. For example, for one group, I can provide an introductory tutorial to the students who have limited coding experience, and for the other group who have advanced coding experience, probably I can offer even more advanced exercises to them. So this kind of assessment is happening before the instructional unit, and it helps basically understand the student cohort better. And in this case also, the objective is never to grade, but to help students learn better. Another form of formative assessment is assessment as learning. So the whole objective of stating it as learning is that this kind of assessment is happening as the learning is happening. And who is conducting this assessment? Students themselves are conducting the assessment. They are learning, they are reflecting, and based on their reflection, they now are more aware about their strengths, they are more aware about their weaknesses, and therefore they are able to learn better. So basically this is a process of reflection, process of monitoring, and the process of giving feedback to oneself. And I believe that this is the most important kind of formative assessment, because this will help our students be independent thinkers, independent learners, and I think that should be the whole objective or the purpose of education. Now such assessments are reference to self, okay. So these are self-referenced assessment. So when I am trying to assess myself, I am comparing myself with my past achievements, with my past performance. So here these assessments are called as ipsative assessment. These are ipsative referenced. So these are not essentially reference to the course outcome. Instead, I am trying to understand that how well I am doing now, or how well is my current performance based on my past performance. So these kind of assessment are also formative in nature, because again the component of feedback is coming. Now the feedback is taken by the student themselves, right? And who is conducting the assessment? Student themselves are conducting the assessment. Of course, teachers are facilitating. Let me take one example that how teachers can facilitate. Now say for the same course outcome that we discussed in our last discussion, probably an instructor after a lab gives some kind of a checklist to the student, which will help them understand that how well I am able to apply the control statements, or how well I am able to write readable codes, or how well I am able to debug the codes. So if we give these kind of checklists to the students, probably students understand that what is the expectation and where am I currently based on the expectation. So many times you would have seen that students write codes, but they are not well documented. But if the student understands that writing a well documented code is important, and if the expectations are clear, students can probably next time write it more appropriately as per the expectation. Coming to the second type of assessment, which is summative assessment. So here the objective is to report students' learning, and this reporting is done for all the stakeholders, students, teachers, administrators. And what does this reporting tells us? This reporting tells us about the attainment of the course outcome, that how far students have attained the desired course outcomes. And these kind of assessment happens at the end of instructional unit. It can happen after a unit, it can happen midterm, it can also happen say after the course. And therefore, these kind of assessment are called as assessment of learning, right? So we are trying to assess students after the learning is completed. So we are trying to assess how far students have learned. So these kind of assessments are also called as assessment of learning. And these assessments are again reference to a criteria, okay? And what is the criteria in this case? Again, the criteria is course outcome. So if the course outcome, let me take the same example, apply programming principles to write, analyze and review codes, then probably as part of summative assessment, a teacher can ask the student to write a program that takes a list of integers, calculate the sum of all the even numbers and then print the results. Okay. So now in this case, students are not getting an opportunity to revise their codes, right? Unlike formative assessment. Here, based on students' performance, probably teacher will be able to report students' learning. Summative assessments are also used for certification purposes. So there can be various kinds of certificates or these kind of assessments that are conducted by various external agencies. And for example, this particular course, the NPTEL course, probably you all will get a certificate. So this is also some kind of a certification exam, right? And the assessment is of summative in nature. Because we are again conducting the assessment at the end, and then we are certifying students' attainment of course outcomes. And the certificate can be in terms of say pass or fail, competent, not competent, and sometimes we also get some percentage, right? And that percentage tells us that how far we have attained the course outcomes. So if we consider the certificates that gets published after say first year of the program, or the second year, third year or final year, and if we know that in every semester there are 6 courses. So in the certificate you will see that there are 6 courses, the titles are given for those courses, and then there is a percentage against each of those courses. It can be percentage, it can be grades. So that is telling me that students have attained this percentage of the course outcomes. Also, summative assessments can also be conducted for selection purposes. So, when we are saying assessments for selection, it can be for selecting students for higher education programs or selecting students for some job. So, in this case, we are rank ordering the students, okay, based on the number of seats we have, and then probably admitting the student to a higher education program or selecting them for some job profile. Now, in this case, the objective of assessment, so based on whatever student has learned so far, we are trying to predict students' performance. So basically, we are trying to predict that how well student will be doing in this higher education program, or how well student will be able to do in this job. But this is based on students' knowledge, skills, values, and disposition that students have attained so far. So after the instructional unit or after the course. So basically, there is an attempt to predict students' performance. And since we are rank ordering the student, in this case, we are not referring, or the assessments are not reference to a criteria. Instead, the assessments are reference to another student, because we are trying to compare one student with another, and based on this comparison, we are trying to rank order the students, right? So such assessments are also called as norm referenced. These are not criterion referenced like formative assessments or the summative assessments that are conducted in a classroom setup or for certification purposes. The assessments that are conducted for selection purposes are also summative in nature, but these assessments are norm referenced, because we are comparing one student with another, rank ordering them, and then selecting them for the appropriate course or job. So some of the selection assessments are IIT JEE, GATE. Such assessments are used for entering into engineering programs or master's programs. Also, another kind of selection assessments for job purposes are UPSC, also probationary officer. So there are different kinds of exams that are conducted, right? So these are also assessments for selection, and these are also summative in nature. Another concept probably is important to understand after having this discussion on the different types of assessment, formative and summative, is evaluation. We all sometimes used the word assessment and evaluation interchangeably, and probably it's an incorrect notion, and therefore it is important to understand what is the difference between assessment and evaluation. So evaluation is a broader purpose as compared to assessments. Why? Because evaluation happens after summative assessment. And evaluation, through evaluation, we are trying to make a judgment. Again, it is a systematic process. We are trying to make a judgment. And this judgment is telling us that how far students have attained the desired course outcomes. Okay. So unlike the formative purpose of assessment, where we are not judging students' performance, where we are trying to help students learn better, here we are judging students' performance. Okay, this also has an important purpose, but this is not similar to assessment, where it is happening throughout the teaching learning process. Instead, this is happening at the end. So evaluation is always followed by the process of summative assessment. So we conduct a summative assessment, and say for example you have semester end examination. Okay, so it is and then you also have a continuous internal evaluation, CIE and SCE. So when we are trying to merge the score of these two, and then we are able to reach to a collated score, then with the help of this score, we are trying to make a judgment about the attainment of students' performance, right? So this is mostly happening after summative assessment. So let me explain this through this flow chart. So in a classroom setup, we conduct various kinds of assessment methods, right? We use various assessment methods. So it can be project, it can be presentation, it can be seminars. The most frequently used assessment method is a test, right? Again, test can be an oral test, it can be a written test. So it is one kind of assessment method, right? So once we conduct the test, we try to evaluate students' performance, and based on this evaluation, based on how students have performed in that test, we try to associate a grade or associate some marks. We give them some marks, right? So these quantities are called as measurement. So measurement is the process of assigning scores to students' performance based on certain predefined criteria or a marking scheme or a rubrics, right? Because when we are evaluating students' responses, we refer some kind of a marking scheme or a rubrics. Okay, so based on that, we try to give some marks. So that is the process of measurement. Again, these can be grades, these can be marks, these can be percentages. So all of it comes under the umbrella of measurement. And once the measurement happens, we try to make a judgment. Judgment about what? Judgment about how far students have attained the course outcomes. So if we have, for example, when we are trying to make a judgment of, say student has got A, certain student has got B, certain student has got C, all these measurement carries a different kind of a judgment, or it will also help us that how far students have attained the course outcomes. Okay. Now after this process, we are not giving any kind of a feedback to the student. We are not saying that these are the areas of improvement, or these are your weaknesses, or these are your strengths, right? So unlike formative assessment, after summative assessment, we do a evaluation, and after making a judgment, probably somewhere these reports can be used for the next academic year, but not for this academic year. So you see, the concept of assessment and evaluation are little different. Assessment is to help students learn, students grow, while as far as evaluation is considered, we try to make a judgment. So we have discussed many concepts, many terms, many terminologies. So it is important to converge and help you see the bigger picture. So this concept map probably will help you understand that how all these concepts are interconnected to each other. So assessment in higher education programs can be of two types: formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment happens during the teaching learning process, while summative assessment happens at the end of the teaching learning process. Formative assessment can be conducted by the teachers, and it can also be conducted by the students. When the formative assessment is conducted by the teachers, we call it as assessment for learning. It is helping students grow, it is helping students learn better. So they are called as assessment for learning. And these assessments can be diagnostic in nature, that happens in the beginning of the instructional unit, or it can also happen at the during the teaching learning process, right, to provide feedback to the students. These assessments are criterion referenced. Basically, whatever informal kind of assessment, whatever formative assessment we are conducting, these are reference to the course outcome or aligned to the course outcome. Another kind of formative assessment is also that is conducted by the students themselves, and these are therefore called as assessment as learning. And these assessments, the entire objective is to aid learning because students are assessing their performance with their past performances, and these assessments are reference to themselves, their past performance, and therefore these are called as ipsative referenced assessment. Coming to the summative assessment, summative assessments can be conducted by the teachers, and it can also be conducted by external agencies. So when summative assessments are conducted by the teachers, it is to evaluate students' learning, and the summative assessments are designed with reference to course outcomes, so even these are criterion referenced. Coming to the summative assessments that are conducted by external agency, these are also called as assessment of learning, but the purpose can be to certify the students, or sometimes to select students. So purpose is different here, but for this purpose also, since it is a summative assessment, these are also referenced to a criteria. Again, by criteria we mean course outcomes. So whatever summative assessment we are designing, this should help us attain assess the attainment of course outcomes. So with this we have completed the discussion on basic concepts in assessment. In our next unit, we will try to discuss different purposes of assessment in detail.